praise and thanksgiving medley. It's so good to have all of you here. If I haven't met you yet, I'm Reverend Tim Lytle, senior minister here. And so have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Whatever it is that you're going to do this week, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's so good to see all of you here with us, and those of you who are online, I hope wherever you are. And I know there are people in other countries that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but still, you can celebrate gratitude. Celebrate gratitude for all the things that God is doing in your life. Celebrate those people in your life. Celebrate the health and wholeness that you have. So we invite everyone into this spirit of gratitude. We are practicing 86 days of gratitude. Now, you can extend it beyond 86 days, and I recommend that you do so. But many of us have journals that are writing down each day what they're grateful for. And life is different when we practice gratitude. Life is different. Today, I'm talking about how to practice mystical presencing. Now, some of you are like, what does that mean? How to practice mystical presencing. Now, I want to describe it, and I'll be reading from, and we are getting our projector fixed very soon. So you'll see the words of the songs and the scriptures behind us, but not yet. Okay. So this comes from Matthew chapter 9, verses 20 through 22. Comes from the Living Bible. And it says, a woman who had been sick for 12 years with bleeding. Can you imagine? Maybe you can, I don't know. 12 years of uninterrupted bleeding. Wow. Came up, let me back up just a little bit. These folks were Jewish. When a woman is in menses, in that Orthodox Jewish tradition, she was considered unclean, and everyone had to stay away from her, or they were considered unclean. For 12 years, everyone had to stay away from her. Have you ever thought about that? 12 years she had been ignored. 12 years she had been shunned. 12 years she had felt othered and ostracized, like she didn't belong. For 12 years she felt probably like God had given her some sort of curse. For 12 years. Wow, that's a long time. And in the Bible, 12 symbolizes like completion, like the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 apostles, and we celebrate 12 powers. Whatever's gone on in your life, maybe it's felt like a long, long time. Some of you relate to that. So imagine this woman been sick for 12 years with internal bleeding. It was against Jewish law for her to come up and touch another person. Get this part of the story. It was against Jewish law. And it wasn't like, it's optional. No, you can get into a lot of trouble in that day violating the law. And whoever you touch is considered to be unclean. She had been sick for 12 years with bleeding, came up behind Jesus and touched a tassel of his robe, the edge of his robe. There are still Jewish people to this day who will wear prayer tassels that are attached to the edge of their clothing. And in that day, people wore prayer tassels as a sign of constant prayer through the day. She thought, if I can only touch him, I will be healed. Literally, what it says in the Greek is, I will be saved. If I can just touch the tassel, if I can just touch the hem of the garment, if I can just touch a little bit of it and kind of do it on the sly, you getting this? Like, why didn't she just come up to him and say, hey, I want to be healed? Because she was doing this incognito. She didn't want to be caught touching someone while she's considered unclean. She did not want to be rejected. She thought, let me just touch the hem of the garment and I will be healed. Have you ever had that kind of faith? If I can just touch the hem of this garment, I will be healed. I will be whole. If I can just touch the edge of source, if I can just touch the edge of the presence of God, if I can just touch the presence of Jesus, if I can just touch this presence of oneness, I shall be healed. Have you ever had that kind of faith and just reached out in faith? The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard calls this the leap of faith. It's stepping out when you don't know there's anything there. Like the Indiana Jones movie of The Last Crusade. Maybe some of you have seen that. He comes to a big chasm. You can't see any way across the chasm. He reads the instructions. The instructions say the faithful will be able to cross. There's just a big chasm. There's nothing there to support him. And it shows him in the movie stepping out and then stepping down, not knowing that there's anything there. And only then can he see that there is a natural bridge, the exact same color as the chasm. But he couldn't see it until he stepped out in faith. This woman said, if only I touch him, I will be healed. Now, in another account, Jesus says, who touched me? Who that? Who touched me? I felt power go out. So it's like, now, I believe Jesus knew. I believe he was calling her out. Anyway, Jesus turned around and spoke to her. Now listen to what he says to her. He doesn't say to her, you're unclean. Why are you touching me? Now you have defiled me. He doesn't turn to her and say, why did you do that without my permission? He doesn't turn to her and say, who do you think you are? Listen to what he calls her. Daughter. This is someone who had been ostracized for 12 years, that people couldn't be around for 12 years. And Spirit, Jesus, calls her daughter. Can you feel it? It gives me chills. He's saying, you and I are family. You and I are one. You are not other. You are not broken or botched or a blemish. You are my child. Wow. Can you feel that? The power of that? He said, daughter, all is well. We say that in unity too. Sometimes, though, it doesn't always look well, but we say, all is well. And then listen to what he says. And Jesus says this over and over and over at various healings. He says, your faith has healed you. Your faith has healed you. Your faith has made you whole. Your power of faith is what has brought the miracle. Your faith. You are the one who has this power. Jesus is saying it right here. You are the one who has this power within you. You are the one who has this power of the presence of God. You are the one. You are looking sometimes for someone outside of you to heal you, to help you. You have the power of God living as you.
Yes.
Wow. Jesus declared it so. Wow. No wonder he got in trouble. Because he was teaching in that day that your faith has the power to move mountains. Your faith has the power to heal. Your faith has the power to make all things new. You have the power.
Yes.
I'm going to say something bold. I love all churches, but any church that teaches that you do not have this power is not teaching about Jesus. We've kind of enculturated people in our churches to feel powerless, to feel like victims, instead of helping them to realize what Jesus came to live, to be an example of, that you are the presence of this power. It says, and the woman was well from that moment. 12 years of being ostracized, 12 years of being othered, 12 years of being shunned. And suddenly she was well. But Jesus says to her, your faith has healed you. Now, let me explain mystical presencing, what I mean by that term. Mystical is just about experiencing that oneness, that presence of God, really embodying that, really experiencing that presence of oneness. Presencing means being able to presence that out into the world so that people feel it. It's contagious. We're actually presenting something here that is contagious. Do not contact the Department of Health. We are here to help people to understand that they have that power, they have that presence, and the way we do it is to presence that ourselves, to be that presence, to be that mystical presence of union with God. Let me give some examples so it's not theoretical. Right before the pandemic, you remember? Oh my goodness, do you remember? I remember. I went to get my eyes checked and get new glasses on March 16th. The next day, the pandemic was announced. It took me 6 months to get my glasses because everything got shut down. Yeah, rev it up. Before the just before that, the November before that, at Unity and Marin, and I know I have some wonderful friends who are watching from Unity and Marin, and we welcome you. Every year we would have a Thanksgiving service there. On Thanksgiving morning, 10 o'clock, we would all come together in the sanctuary to have a Thanksgiving service, and it was like open mic time. I would give a little message. We'd have some Thanksgiving songs. And then be open mic for anybody who wanted to come up and talk about ways in which their life had been blessed, things that they were thankful for. It was a gratitude bliss out service. We would do it every Thanksgiving. And then afterwards, we'd all have a big communal Thanksgiving meal. My brother, my oldest brother, who had taught me to play basketball, taught me to play baseball, taught me to play football, taught me to play chess, who did so many things with me, who in some ways helped raise me. My brother, who invested so much into my life, died soon before that Thanksgiving. So when we came to that Thanksgiving service, and we were talking about things that we are grateful for, I went to the microphone and I gave thanks for his life. I gave thanks for the ways in which he had touched my life, ways that will continue giving. After that service, a woman came up to me. I don't know if you're watching, but a woman came up to me. She walked up to me. Now, just take this in, okay? She said, I see your brother. He's right behind you. And this is what he says. And she gave me a message that I knew was my brother. That's mystical presencing. That's allowing ourselves to be the presence, to step out in faith and be that presence, to be that word of encouragement, to be that word of healing with someone. Have you ever been in a difficult circumstance where someone has said just what you needed to hear? When she said that, I experienced healing in that very moment because she was willing to be open and authentic, to presence that in the moment. That's one example of mystical presencing. Let me give you another. Should have handed out Kleenexes at this service. Right. There are some underneath your seats. Yes, thank you. My wife and I lived for a long time in Wichita, Kansas. We're going to be traveling there we're leaving tonight, flying out tonight. Be with my mom for Thanksgiving. It'll be such a joy to be with my mom for Thanksgiving. Wichita, Kansas is a beautiful city, about 500,000 people. It's spacious, it's well organized, it's beautiful. Beautiful parks, lots of parks all over the place, and a beautiful river that flows right down the middle of it. And there's these river walks right alongside the river. And we would walk many times on the river walk for our exercise and just to experience the beauty. One day as we were walking, and there's some hotels right there at part of the river walk. One day, Olga Lucia, my wife, tripped and fell and did a full body plant onto the concrete. Have you done that? You know how that feels? The pain. It's like, oh. So, okay, this is what she and I have learned to do. So she rolled over on her back, and she had hurt both legs, hurt her knees badly, her hands and arms. She stuck them all up in the air so that they would not fill up with fluid, so that she could fight the inflammation, and to declare healing. And she just laid there and meditated. And she said to me, would you please do healing work on me right now? Because we would do this healing work of using our hands, no touch, but using our hands and just, embody a presence, the presence of God. Presence that. And so here we are in front of a hotel in downtown Wichita. Picture it. Her legs are up in the air. Her arms are up in the air. I'm kneeling beside her, extending my hands, holding the presents. What a picture that must have been. We did that for 15 minutes. She got up with no bruises, no injuries, no pain, absolutely healed. Right? That's another form of mystical presencing. It's all over through the Christian scriptures. Amen. Jesus told us in John chapter 14 that greater works shall you do. Greater works shall you do. Now, I don't know, maybe, but I don't think we're going to do greater works in raising the dead and healing the sick and doing all the things that Jesus did, but it can be greater in terms of all of us can do this. It can be spread. All of us can be doing this. Jesus didn't say, only I can do this. Jesus commissioned 70 of his disciples to go out 2 by 2 to do this work. At the end of Matthew chapter 28, at the end of Mark chapter 16, he gave his followers all these powers and declared, we have the power to heal. We have the power to bring healing to our world. We have the power to presence God in our world. We don't have to sit back like children who don't have any power. Actually, children have great power, but we do not have to be victims. We can be the presence of God right where we are. That's what unity believes. That's what unity teaches. Wow. I've seen some miraculous things just by people being willing to presence the presence of God. To be that presence right where we are. It can be a word of encouragement that someone needs. It can be a word of knowledge, like, oh, something has just come up for me, and we're not attached to the results. We just offer it. If it fits, fine. If it doesn't, fine. But we offer it. We can give a word of healing. We have this power. Jesus, in this story of this woman who had 12 years of bleeding, was practicing this presence of God, was practicing this mystical presencing. Otherwise, why would the woman have the faith to violate the Jewish law and come up to this rabbi, Jesus was a rabbi, and touch the prayer tassel of his garment? What was it that incited and excited that faith in her? What was it that drew her to him? What was it that got her to touch the hem of the garment? What was it that got her to touch the source? What was it that got her to touch the eternal? What was it? Jesus just exuded this presence of God. And that's what brought up her faith. You can do that too. People can be in your presence and suddenly they can feel their faith rising up. That's what our prayer chaplains do with folks. People can be in your presence, and I hope sometimes someone has said to you, just being in your presence, I feel more peaceful. Or just being in your presence, I feel more grounded. Just being in your presence, I feel more faith. If not, you can presence this. You can be this. You can be this presence in the world so that people touch the hem of the garment. so that people reach out and touch in faith the source and get in touch with the source. But your life can show the way. I heard a definition of a devotee, a disciple, as being this. A real devotee, a real disciple, is someone that when you're in their presence, just being in their presence, you want to be a devotee too. Amen. What are people catching from you? What are people catching from you? Are they catching fear? Are they catching negativity and being critical? Are they catching a worldview that someone and something is against us and by God, we got to stand up against it? What are they catching from you? Now, here's the deal. Whatever it is you got, someone else is catching it. Mask or no mask. Whatever you got, someone is catching it. What do you want them to catch? Do you want them to catch the presence of God? Do you want them to catch their faith where they can touch the hem of the garment? Do you want them to catch healing and wholeness? Do you want them to catch coming into their own and being all that they can be? Or do you want them to catch being little, playing small, playing in the fear? What do you want them to catch? And I'll tell you the key to this. They will catch what you're doing, how you're living. How are you living? Are you living in fear? Are you living that presence? Are you living that loving presence that God is? Are you seeing that you are here to live that presence? Wow. Talk about the Great Commission. You know, Jesus at the end of Matthew chapter 28 said, I send you out into all the world to make disciples. Well, this is our charge, to go out into our world and to be this presence of God so that people just being in your presence light up. Amen. They see your light and they want to get their light going. They want to fan their flame. They want to get it going. That's our charge. That's our invitation. Is to be this presence of God, to do this mystical presencing of God. I'll be gone next Sunday. Reverend Margie is going to be here and is going to bring us an excellent message. When I come back, which will, I'm coming back December 1st, and so I'll be here for the Sunday service December 3rd, right? Yeah, December 3rd. I'll go further into this because we'll be starting what's called Advent. Amen. Advent means to come. All right, what's coming? All right, what's coming is the light. Advent is a season where we're leading up to the birth of Jesus and the birth of the Christ as us. It's the coming of the light. And so we celebrate by lighting a different candle each Sunday for different powers. But I want to talk more about how to light our light, how to be this presence in the world, because this is what we're really here to do. So let's get after it, folks. We're the light of the world. Thank you. All right, I invite us to take a deep breath and get in touch with that presence, that light of God within us. We know there's only one power and one presence active as our lives and as the universe. God the good, God the omnipotent, omnipotence, God, the creator of all. We are this presence. We open ourselves to this as we go into the silence. We give thanks, Spirit, knowing we are in the presence, that the presence is with us, and that we are the presence. We bless each life who is listening. We bless the lives of our entire world, knowing we are called here to be that presence. And for this we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.